Alright, welcome to part 2 of JO1's Burn Aggro versus Anivia Shadow Isles. If you haven't seen the first one, check that out first. This is going to be the second game he played. Well, he played a lot of games, but this is the game he played right after the previous one. And again, you're going to see a very recurring theme, and the main theme is that you want to keep your board nice and bulky before rather than prioritizing burn damage in the early and mid game. You only really want to prioritize burn damage once your opponent starts to have more units than you. You do not want to be sacrificing your units for burn damage in the early and mid phase. Now in this position, you will notice that he is considering whether or not to pick Farron. He only has one Farron in his deck. And the thing is, because our opponent's deck is so slow, and he's not going to be able to really efficiently answer our board in the early game, as long as we stay nice and beefy, and also as long as we don't just simply go wide with a bunch of cheap 1 and 2 mana units and allow them to avalanche all of them, then we're going to want the extra top end and resource extension from drawing a Farron, which means not only is our game plan not to simply go wide with all cheap units, but we're going to eventually want a Farron in this matchup no matter what. Because he's only runs 1, he's afraid of not drawing it later, which is why he ends up keeping it in the mulligan. If he ran 3, he would probably feel much more inclined to ship it in case he draws multiple, which is not something he's looking to do. So in this position, would you open attack or play Demolitionist? Now, here's the critical thing. If you were to play Demolitionist, then they could play Vile Feast. And in that position, you would deal the same amount of damage as the open attack, but you would allow Vile Feast to kill your Crackshot Corsair. That's the main downside. Now, the other thing of note is that if they don't have Vile Feast, you get essentially an extra 2 damage from the not Demolitionist, as opposed to only getting the 2 play effect damage from the Demolitionist later down the line, which is what it's going to be worth. However, JO1 opts for the open attack, and the main upside is to this, obviously, as mentioned, is that they don't have the option of using Vile Feast to get rid of Crackshot Corsair. And the thing about this Crackshot Corsair is that if they kill it, we're losing more than just the 2 damage from that round, because it's probably going to deal 2 damage next round as well. So that's the key difference here. If we preserve it, it's going to keep doing the damage that it did. And another thing I forgot to mention is that early burn damage is not highly valuable. So what I mean by this is that they have, for example, Tavern Keeper and Catalyst that they want to play early game either way, because first of all, for Tavern Keeper, that's their only good unit in the around that mana cost that's going to get good trades. So they want to play it early to keep your board under control. Now, if you're spending your burn early, then they're only going to be happier with their Tavern Keeper. Whereas if you play your burn after they play Tavern Keeper, the damage actually sticks around. The same goes with Catalyst, obviously. Not quite the same but they want to play for ramp purposes. It's important to focus on keeping your board nice and healthy in the first few turns rather than going for kamikaze. I don't know how to pronounce that word. Kamikaze? Whatever. Burn damage. Now in this position, he chooses to block. And the reason for that is because MF is not as valuable in this matchup. Of course, he gives down potential one phase damage by blocking, but it does deny our opponent the option of taking multiple value trades and is using, for example, maybe Grasp to kill the MF. I don't know if that's that great of that's that big of a deal simply because they're currently at 20 health, so they don't really want to grasp yet, and we can counter grasp with Noxian Fervor. But it does deny them the ability to use Tavern Keeper for favorable trades. Now, would I block with it? Maybe not, but it does give us some extra leeway later on. Either way, I'm not really sure if that block is objectively correct, but it's definitely not objectively wrong. So now in this position, you have essentially two options, three options, four options. So you could attack. This is a bad option because they would happily Catalyst. You could pass. This is a bad option because you would rather develop, see what they do, and then pass. Now, if you play Crackshot Corsair, they play Avalanche, and they're the happiest Anivia player around. Because you, first of all, not only can you not develop after Avalanche with, say, for example, Demolitionist, but you would also lose all of the burn damage that your units are capable of. The last option is obviously playing Demolitionist on your Crackshot Corsair. Now, this does make your board a bit weaker to Withering Wail, but you're actually happy with them playing Withering Wail now while they're at 20, because you still have 2 damage on the board. You can play Crackshot Corsair, deal 4 damage. They spent all their mana, killed your 2 of your 1-drops. You dealt, well, I guess Withering Wail would heal your Demolitionist damage, but you get to deal 4 damage. They don't play Catalyst. Overall, you're happy with this kind of Withering Wail at this stage in the game. So the best option is to play Demolitionist. It's not actually that great per se, but it is better than the other alternatives. And now finally, you'll notice that our opponent actually passes. So they hovered a spell. That spell can be A, Withering Wail, B, Avalanche, or C, could it be Catalyst? No, it can't. It wouldn't have shown on the stack. So it's either Withering Wail or Avalanche. Or Vile Feast. Actually, no, it could be Vile Feast. But the thing is that Withering Wail, they wouldn't play Withering Wail. Yes, it means that they take 2 extra burn damage. No, they would take 2 extra burn. No, they would not play with. They would play Withering Wail, so we can rule that out. Avalanche, it's pretty valuable in the matchup. They might want to preserve it. But more importantly, they might want to save their mana for Catalyst. So we can rule out Vile Feast. We know that they don't have Vile Feast. If they had Vile Feast, they would definitely play. There's no downside. If they have Catalyst, they keep the mana for Catalyst. If they have anything, literally anything, they would still play Vile Feast. Oh, wait, never mind. Okay, so it was Vile Feast, and they chose to play it. Okay. If they didn't play it, then it wouldn't have been Vile Feast. So now, again, in this position, he chose to pass. And it's important to note, as I said, if our opponent had Catalyst, they still would have played Vile Feast, and it was very likely for them to play Vile Feast, to have Catalyst. And if they did have Catalyst, they wanted to save it until after the attack. If we were to attack and they played Catalyst, we would only deal 2 damage. So by not attacking, we are trading 2 face damage for 2 mana and also their right to play Catalyst. Of course, generally, you denying 2 mana as well as the opportunity to play Catalyst is worth the 2 damage. And now in this position, our opponent is at 8 mana rather than 6. That means they could have played Anivia, but now they can't. And now because they cannot play Ruination, you happily develop Jack the Winner, a 5 mana 5/5, which is not something that they can deal with easily. This is a very easy decision to make. So they did have the Catalyst, which rewards us for not attacking. And now this is a very good open attack. And especially because they have ruination mana, there's simply no reason to do anything except open attack in this scenario. I mean, it's we have 4 units. They have a spiderling. Always an open attack here. So now he uses swim with the fishes on the 2/1 because first of all they could have avalanche, they could have whale. Um, well, actually, specifically avalanche. That if we were to develop first and they play avalanche, then we simply lose. I mean, we take way more damage from avalanche, and we lose the 2/1 anyway. So because and the thing is, since they have a Nivea on the board, this 2/1 is essentially already gone. So using swim with the fishes here, you want to use it immediately. Sacrifice the 2/1, get it out. It's not a resource you have access to, so may as well benefit more from it now by sacrificing it. So in this scenario, our opponent had avalanche. So you'll notice a few things. We could, for example, use Noxing Fervor on the Crackshot Corsair. However, we're not actually in a rush to do so. Our Fervor is most likely going to present a good opportunity to connect anyway. Let's focus on preserving our mana so that we have a bit more diverse options in the future. Because right now, we have ways to spend our mana. We're not in a rush to play Noxing Fervor. And just don't do it. Now, you instantly swim with the fishes here. Now, for reason A, same as before. Now, reason B is you'll notice that they're going to have to do something. So it serves as a soft pass as well in this scenario. And if they choose to answer it, which they did using whale, you'll notice that in this position, we can and probably should use Noxing Fervor on our Jack the Winner. Or so you would think. And the thing is, if you were to choose if you want to use your Noxian Fervor, you want to do it in a way that they can't answer. So if you wanted to do it this round, as an example, you would have to do it now. And that's because if you wait until after the whale, they can use Vile Feast to counter it. And this 5/1 Jack the Winner is dead anyway. So you say, wait a minute, since I'm gonna lose it anyway, why not get more value out of it by sacrificing it with Noxian Fervor? Now this is different from before, because Sleep with the Fishes is a pseudo-free resource. It's something that is fleeting, which means you're gonna lose it. We don't lose Noxian Fervor. We're gonna get the damage from Noxian Fervor anyway. We're not in a rush to spend our mana. We have good ways to spend our mana. Now the upside of not using Noxian Fervor now is that we're gonna have a 5/1 Jack the Winner. And now you say, but that we're gonna lose it anyway. Now, yes, we are, but in exchange for that 5/1 Jack the Winner, we can eat their attack token. By keeping Jack the Winner alive, going into their turn, they have no choice except to attack with their Nivea. Otherwise, we'll use Sleep with the Fishes, which is a slow spell, on our Jack the Winner on the next turn. As mentioned before. So what he's gonna do is he's gonna have to attack with the Nivea to deny this free 2 face damage that we're gonna get, because if he waits until we develop, if he tries to wait until we develop, we're just gonna use Sleep with the Fishes before we develop, get the 2 face damage, and then play our units. He can't take that. So the benefit of not playing Fervor here is that we get to keep our Misfortune and our Island Navigator and its summon with an extra point of health. He's not gonna be able to Nivea attack into them. Now, you'll see that in this position, we have the option to play Swim with the Fishes again, on, for example, our Hapless Aristocrat. He chooses not to, and you may wonder why. Well, it has Scout right now. If we use it, it's gonna lose Scout. So it's already dealing 1 damage guaranteed, basically, and it's almost definitely gonna deal 2, because they're not gonna kill the Hapless Aristocrat, and if they kill it on their turn after the attack, we're still gonna have a Spiderling that's still gonna attack. So it's gonna deal 2 damage. Of course, if we were to use Sleep with the Fishes on it and then attack, it'll probably still deal 1. So you might say that's a net -1, but the thing is, that's on the assumption that they kill our Hapless Aristocrat with, for example, Withering Wail. If they don't do that, then our Hapless Aristocrat will deal 1 more damage. And overall, again, as mentioned before, keep your board resilient and worry about the burn later. We're still going to get a Sleep with the Fishes next round, and we're going to need something to sacrifice, which we're not really going to have next round if we just use it now. So same as before, don't be in a rush. And now in this position, you might say, oh, but look, this is a good open attack. We should full swing. No, no, no. Never full swing here for two reasons. First of all, reason A, we want them to commit some mana so that we might be able to attack them with Farron and either deny them more resources, which includes both mana and cards, because Farron will probably attack twice, so that they'll have to spend 2 cards and even more mana on the Farron. And also, because if we full swing here, they can just play Withering Wail, and they'll have so much mana to stabilize because we're not getting another attack token for 2 rounds. Always scout attack here. This goes with that. This should be obvious, but I thought I should explain it at least once. In case a similar scenario shows up in the future, I probably won't explain it again. It's pretty basic here. Always scout attack. So, you'll notice our opponent has options. They might have Ruination. They might have... Well, I guess you don't really have to think about it until it becomes your turn again. So we'll just move forward. So here they spend 7 mana, so obviously we play Farron. Now you'll notice that the only way they prevent Farron from dealing 4 damage minimum is Flash Freeze. So that means they essentially have no mana right now, which you're happy with. You're not in a rush to play Sleep with the Fishes. Keep your board nice and resilient and use it after the attack. You get extra value that way. You can see what they do, see how they block. No reason to do it before attacking. Now in this position, some of you might be tempted to play Noxian Fervor on the Island Navigator because it has 2 health. It's gonna die for free. The damage on the Rekindler isn't relevant. It serves its purpose as deflecting the attack. Okay, well they're gonna Flash Freeze, but we assume they Flash Freeze because if they don't have Flash Freeze, they just lose anyway. So now you might be tempted to play Noxian Fervor. And the reason you don't is very simple. It's simply because if we play Noxian Fervor, we only have 9 mana in the next round when we want to have at least 10 mana to have double Decimate as an option. That's really all there is to it. And now in this position, once they pass, you obviously play Swim with the Fishes. Who do you use it on? Well, if you take a look, the least valuable unit right now between our 1 health units is MF. She's gonna die to the Anivius. Now you might say, Hapless Aristocrat will die to the Anivius. Now, if you use Sleep with the Fishes, you just lose the Spiderling for free. When you could use it on the Sleep with the Fishes, you get next round. Obviously, Jack of Winter, you keep it so you get another Sleep with the Fishes, and so we use MF, which is one of the 3 units that are gonna die next round, that'll also do nothing. It's simple math. There's a direct comparison, and it basically mathematically shows that MF is the one you sacrifice and the one with least value. Now, so they actually have to open attack almost because they know that our hand is pretty much all burn at this point. They may as well reduce the units we have to sacrifice with Sleep with the Fishes. Now, in this position again, you might be tempted to use it on the 8-6 and say, oh, but look, if I use it on my 8-6, it's a lot more likely to go through. This is true. The only way they answer it is with Vengeance, and if they do that, then you'll notice that if they play Vengeance, we'll be able to play 2 Decimates, and then they'll have to play Vile Feast to survive. This would be a valid point. However, we also want to make it so that they have to Vengeance our Farron either way, because our Farron is going to attack. And so, if they're going to want to spend resources anyway, we may as well simply sacrifice the Spiderling so that the Spiderling is also something they want to remove, whereas Farron is something they want to remove even if we don't play Sleep with the Fishes on it. And then we can play our 2 Decimates, most likely, and then see what they do from there. So it actually connects, and now you'll see there's a very critical and instructive moment here. In this position, well, in 2 seconds, our opponent passes. He has 9 mana. We have 2 decimates and a fervor. You'll notice we have 11 damage in our hand, and they have 2 health, which means they have to heal for 10 health in order to survive the burn damage we have in hand. However, right now we are at 7 mana and they're at 9. If we play Decimate, we spend 5 mana to deal 4, and their healing options are 5 mana to heal 3. Well, or Tavern Keeper, but that's something that doesn't actually matter, and you'll see why. If in this scenario we pass, we let them have 9 mana to answer our 1 Decimate and maybe do whatever else they want to do. I mean, if we play Decimate. If we pass, we'll have 13 mana next round, and we'll still be able to play both Decimates and Noxian Fervor. They'll have 13 mana. So what it means is that if we were to play Decimate now, we give them 19 mana to deal with our Decimates, well, our hand, basically. Now, mathematically, it comes out to being extremely improbable. It's not likely that they can deal with it. However, if we pass, they have 13 mana to deal with the exact same thing. There is no reason to give them 6 extra mana when we don't present any extra threats. Also, as a side benefit, when we attack next round, they have to deal with the Farron attack as well. So we get a bit extra. We still get that either way. They have 19 mana to deal with Farron attack, 2 Decimates, and Fervor. But again, it's the most important thing is that there's no reason to give them 6 extra mana when we don't gain any benefit whatsoever. Again, well, actually, it was mathematically impossible for them to survive at that point. You can't actually deal with Farron attack, 2 Decimates, and Fervor with only 13 mana. And it was actually extremely unlikely they could do it even with 19 mana, but as I said, there's no reason to allow them to have 6 extra mana for free. Thank you for watching. I probably won't be doing burn aggro matches very often, if ever, but this was requested to me on Reddit, and after taking a look at the games, they were sufficiently interesting. JO1 plays differently from the normal instincts that you would expect. He's trained his tuition a little bit differently from most players, so I thought it was quite interesting to showcase. This was ladder games, but it was different. Have a good day. Also consider subscribing or whatever if you want to see more videos. I'm not uploading that frequently. I don't even know if subscribing will notify you when I make new videos, but that's up to you too. See you guys.